Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the Hardwood Nation podcast with your boy C.L. Anthony, my main man Bryce Ward, and as always, my second favorite white guy, Michael France. What's going on, fellas?
Mike, what's up, guys?
So we're gonna jump right into it today. We had a very interesting final last night. The Timberwolves finally showed some spunk and beat the brakes off of the OKC Thunder. Mike, I'm gonna throw it to you first. How surprised are you that the Timberwolves beat the Thunder in that fashion?
I mean, we had to expect something from Ant. Ant had a good game. You know what I'm saying? Rudy Gobert finally showed up after the past couple games. He was, I'm not even going to say he showed up, but he played as a factor, right? You know who's really, I'm going to throw the name out here, who's really keeping Minnesota in this whole thing is Julius Randle. That boy is out there. I mean, he's like, NBA Jan. He's on fire. This man is shooting like I've never seen him shoot before. But kudos to Minnesota for getting that one game. I still think it's only going 5.
Bryce, the newly crowned MVP, got his ass beat last night. What are your thoughts on it?
I'm glad to see Minnesota make it at least somewhat interesting now, because these teams going down 0-2 is not exactly, I don't think, what everybody was expecting to see.
We're getting there.
I know, not jumping ahead, but no, it was good to see. I didn't want to see Minnesota go down 0-3. I didn't want to see it get like that. I'd like to see it completely evened up. I'd like to see it at least go 6, something like that. That's what I hope to see, anyways, for Ant. And these antics between these two teams, getting Timberwolves getting so aggravated playing against OKC, like James McDaniel shoving people. I love it.
I will say this: the last time the three of us were on, we talked about how the legacy of OKC would be if they were to get past Denver, which they did. So I want to talk about the legacy of Ant versus Shea right now. Again, who was a newly crowned MVP. Mike, how important is this series for Ant going forward as far as the perception of the face of the league?
I can't say that it's important because he doesn't even want that title. So for him, he's just going out there and playing. I think he's just, Ant's going to be Ant. If the NBA chooses to dub him as the next one, right, and the face, then they're going to choose to do it. I think that it's not going to be up to him. He doesn't want it, so I don't think it's.
Well, I mean, the other guy's down for the next year, so somebody's going to keep regardless.
Oh, right. Well, and I think that season could be. Here's the season where we could see somebody other than Jason Tatum, and the NBA is going to probably utilize that to scrutinize after next season. But it's like an open tryout for the face right now because Jason Tatum's gone, right? So who wants it, and who's going to end up working with the NBA to be that?
Right.
Ant doesn't care about that. So he's just going out there. It's funny because I'm watching this game last night, and he finally got a little bit chippy. Him and Lou Dort were going at it, which was awesome. I love the physicality of the series right now. Like, it's actually really good. I think this is the best series, not only on paper, but I think it's probably going to be the most entertaining series. Should it be able to go 6 or 7? I mean, if it goes that. For me, like I said, I think it's still only going 5. But that's just because OKC is out there killing things right now. I think they're going to come back great on the next game.
Bryce, what do you think? Do you think this is an important series for Ant as far as being that, the face of the league? Because, again, Tatum's out of the way for right now. Shea is foreign, so we already know how that goes. What do you think?
Yeah, for people that already want to crown him that. I know Ant doesn't care, but that doesn't mean other people can't decide that for him. It's like a popularity contest. And I'm not even sure. I don't know how the league feels about him compared to Tatum because of, the baby mama struggle, things like that, but it won't matter if the people decide that he's deserving of it. But I don't know if he can. I don't think people are going to want to award him that if he can't make it out of the conference finals again. So I know Ant doesn't care. And if you don't care about it, it's fine. It's not a big deal. But It's up to the people, not necessarily. I don't think Ant to decide if he wants it or not. But I don't think he gets it regardless yet if he still doesn't make it out of the conference finals. Because I mean, losing to Luka last year, and then if they again lose to Shea this year, it's kind of hard to award someone like the face of the league when you're losing to the foreigners that other people would like to also compare as the best players in the league. So I think it'll be tough, even with Tatum out, to take that step if Anthony doesn't come out of the series, which I think is going to be very difficult. So I think fans are going to want to give him that title. I just don't think it's quite warranted yet, even with Tatum out, because I don't really feel like Tatum's that either. I feel like that's more forced than anything. So none of it feels organic yet. Until it feels like it comes on organically, I'm not going to say one way or another. However, even though Ant doesn't care, it might not be up to him to care. You know what I mean? People might just give him that title. So, but I don't think it happens without him at least coming out of the West.
Before we pivot to my favorite series, we're going to talk about a dark horse who I think, because the MVP voting came out. Bryce, I don't know if you saw the list. Forgive me if I didn't send you the list. But I saw a name on there, and I was like, okay, I kind of fuck with that a little bit. So I was like, if this player can get his team into the top 4 next year without Jason Tatum, in the league, he could actually inject himself into this conversation as far as the face of the franchise, because he's been great ever since he's been there. And I'm talking about Cade Cunningham, who got some first place MVP votes. So, Mike, I'm going to throw it to you. Do you think it's possible for Cade to inject himself into this conversation should the Detroit Pistons at least get into the top 4 next season?
I believe that I think that's going to be a little bit forced. Only reason is kind of funny. I was actually going to interject here, but it goes with your question. We spoke earlier on a different episode. I think it was just me, you, and Pat, though, on when an international individual is going to be the face of the league. And I had said it was going to be Victor Wembanyama, right? Mm-hmm. I'm wondering if we're getting into this time right now where that decision is going to be sooner than later, because we don't have Jason Tatum. Cade Cunningham could be, but when you've got the likes of Luka Doncic, you've got Giannis Antetokounmpo still, you've got Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, right? Victor Wembanyama. You've got names that are young enough that will bring in, I think, the type of revenue, especially on a global scale, that I think that would be easier to just finally just say, let's pivot and let's go with an international individual. It's almost like an American individual is being forced upon us now. And if you go Cade Cunningham, you're going even more forced because of those other names and how good they are. So as much as I would love it, because that's my squad, that's my lifelong squad. I love seeing his name up there. But when we had a conversation via text, I had asked you, is this a stretch for next year that possibly if he gets into the conversation of MVP, then maybe at some point it could be pivoted back over to him if they really want that. But he was, 5th or 6th in MVP voting?
Yeah, he was down there, but I was surprised he got that many votes, to be honest with you.
Well, and they had a great season. Yeah. Let's be honest. They had a great season compared to what they had, and it was a complete turnaround. So did he deserve to be in the conversation? Yes.
Yeah, absolutely.
But he's not getting the MVP camaraderie of being face of the league yet. That's why I say it's probably going to be a little bit forced. But is it a stretch to at least say that if he continues to play this way, could he be at least top 3 in voting? Hey, I think he could be that all day. He could give these guys a run for their money. But it's not going to be, a 38-point or 35-point type season. It's not going to be a triple-double season. It's going to be strictly based off leadership. And the last time that I saw that happen, John C. Billups wasn't even in the conversation for these things. So I'm actually surprised to see Cade Cunningham as high as he was in MVP voting.
I was shocked. Bryce, I'm going to throw the next question to you, but I'm going to say this, and I'm going to try not to sound like a homer or a true America lover. But I will say this: the people would never accept the international players to face the NBA. Will happen. Now, from the NBA standpoint, as far as the money standpoint, jersey sales, international sales, like you mentioned, Mike, the NBA wants it, but the people will never accept it, which is why we haven't had it before. Because right now, if you think about it, Jokic, Luka, Shea, we've had like 6 years of great international play, and still they're not considered the face of the league because we would never, the people would never agree with that. People in the United States would never agree with that. We won't fuck. We want Ant. Ant might not want it. We want Ant. Okay, that's what we want. That's what we fuck with. And we do fuck with Luka. We do fuck with Jokic. Don't get me wrong. Wemby, not yet, but because we like players with a little edge. But at the end of the day, homegrown Americans will never accept a foreign player to be considered the face of the NBA. It just will happen.
Hey, but we've had to accept rule changes that were based on European League and international rules.
Right.
So,
but how many
people didn't like
that? Now? Right. I was saying, how many people complain about the product now because of that?
Right, but how many complaints do you hear now about the Euro step that was maybe 10 years ago? You don't hear about it anymore. Why? Because
as much.
Well, but still, like those rules that have adjusted the game itself, people have acclimated to finally accept, right? So at this point, it's gonna have to happen at some point for the revenue and the money side of it, because that's what this is. It's a business. Let's be real, right? Everybody's in it for the money. So at some point it's gonna. I feel like the NBA is gonna be like, look, this is gonna be it. This is what we're gonna do, and then they're just gonna accept the fact to say, hey, we're gonna have a challenge, but it's gonna be accepted because everything ends up being accepted anyway.
Bryce, let me throw you this question. So there's rumors that they're going to change the All-Star format again, and they're going to have Team USA versus a team of international stars for next year's All-Star weekend. Do you think that would kind of pivot the conversation as far as having a international player as a face of the league if the international players in that game destroy the NBA players? I know we're future thinking, but this is going to happen next February.
I think it's more of a and instead of a either or. I think the league could benefit from a number one foreign player having to go up against the number one American player, whether it's team, all-star, playoffs, whatever the situation is. I think the league could benefit from a new rivalry, and if that's the basis of the rivalry, I think that could be good. Like the teams, whoever's playing against each other is one thing, but if you have Jokic or Luka or Shea out there, up against Ant in the game or up against Cade in the game, I think that could be an interesting rivalry. But also, it comes into like what you said, there has to be a certain edge about some of these players. It's harder for me to get behind the idea of Jokic being something like that because of the style he plays compared to like Shea or Luka, or even Luka compared to Shea, just because it's not quite as fast, not quite as exciting to look at. I think all these things come into play, but I think the international against the Americans about it with the All-Star game and everything kind of gets old to me because I don't really get too hyped about the All-Star game, and clearly the NBA doesn't know what to do with it because they change it every year. So until they figure out something that the fans like and that they like and that they're consistently doing every year, I'm not going to get too high or low on these year-to-year changes just because I'm not expecting the same thing next year because they can't seem to make their minds up. But I could get behind an international versus American game again. I thought they did that not that long ago.
No. I think they did it with the Rising Stars, but they didn't do it with the males.
Yeah. Okay. But either way, I don't think it's like terrible. But again, you need the players to buy in to make it exciting, and they never seem to buy into it. So I don't really know what the right answer there is. I think you might be on the right step towards something, but then again, like I said, you got to have the players buy in and play hard.
This is a great conversation. So I want to have one more question before we pivot to my favorite topic, my favorite series. So, Mike, before we started recording, we talked about the Angel Reese, Caitlin Clark, Magic Bird, all the bullshit, the comparisons there, right? Pertaining to this specific topic that we're talking about, I think, in theory, if the NBA wanted to put a shot into the league, they could do, as we talked about, as we discussed, NBA players versus international players. But here's the thing. Someone has to be a good guy. Someone has to be the bad guy. And the NBA does not have the balls to make the foreign players the bad guys. So
No, I 100%. I agree with you. Let's be honest. The bad guy that's going to be on the floor is going to be Ant.
Yeah.
Right. Let's be honest. It's going to be. He's the one that would end up his. I'm going to use this lightly. His arrogance. Because I can accept his level, I can accept his level of arrogance because there are times that he backs it up, and I've seen him go from a quiet individual to the point to where okay, I know that I can do my shit now.
Mm-hmm. He telling fans that his dick's bigger than theirs. Mm-hmm.
That shit is hilarious to me, by the way. But he can back it up now, right? He's got to that level where his experience, he's actually he did a whole 180. I actually thought that at one point he wasn't even really going to be that relevant in the NBA. And then all of a sudden, boom, over the past couple of years, last year's playoffs really catapulted him into a whole different, atmosphere now. So when you can be arrogant and it's acceptable, then you can be the bad guy and accept it, and it's going to be entertaining. He's going to be he would be a great face of the NBA. Let's be honest. But you're 100% correct. The international individuals the NBA won't paint them that way. They don't want it that way because at that point, those type of cultures don't know how to accept it. I feel like, at that point, you're looking at having other cultures in other countries then turning on the NBA because they don't want their guy to be the bad guy either way. We're used to it.
That's what the basis of the international play was based. Look, back in the Olympics, we hated other countries. We hated Arvidas Sabonis. We hated playing against Russia in the gold medal games, right? But because the NBA has opened the floodgates to international players, it's counterproductive on what we used to be able to do. So it's a fascinating conversation. It is absolutely fascinating. Now, speaking of arrogant, you gave me a great segue there to say it.
I know.
Speaking of arrogant, as I like to say, overrate that. Bryce, how shocked are you that after the New York Knicks vanquished my immortal enemy, the Boston Celtics, that the New York Knicks dropped the first 2 fucking home games to that guy?
Yeah.
No. I'm sorry, Bryce. They did not drop the first game to Tyrese Halliburton. Let's be real. They
came back. That was a hell of a shot. It was the boy has the balls of grapefruits. I'm telling you.
That shot is so. Bryce, I don't mean to take over this, but I need to make this point real quick. I need to make this point real quick. It's just like Ray Allen's shot. Ray Allen's shot is nothing without a 20-point takeover by LeBron James.
Whoa.
Hold on.
We still had to win game 7. We still had to win game 7. That was game 6.
I get you. But everybody says Ray Allen saved LeBron James's career with that shot. Bro, everybody forgets that the 20-point takeover from LeBron made that shot relevant.
Ray Allen did his job and made a 3-pointer.
Right. So Tyrese Halliburton's shot was great, but it was nothing without Neesmith's 6 3-pointers prior to that.
Yes.
So let's not say he took over.
Boston traded.
Right. Let's not give all the credit to Tyrese Halliburton there. Neesmith needs some love. Let's be honest.
He does. The whole team needs some love. Yeah, I'm going to say this. As wrong as I was in the first round, I've been spot on in the second round, leading to the conference finals. But let me say this. As much credit as we have to give Minnesota for being in the conference finals 2 years in a row, we have to give that same respect to the Indiana Pacers. Because there was a lot of people who were shitting on the Pacers, who were shitting on Tyrese. Dude, they're just kicking the ass, man. It's just like, what the fuck. Okay. To the point that New York, and if they do this today, they're gonna lose. Well, I mean, they're gonna lose series anyway, numbers wise. But if they make the move by benching Josh Hart and putting Mitchell Robinson in the starting lineup, no. You don't go big against this team. You have to stay small against this team. What is Tim
Nick
thinking?
fans might riot too because they love Josh Hart.
Bro,
They love him.
They may bench him today.
Mhm.
So, Bryce,
I read that.
how shocked are you about this? What we have, the Knicks being down 2-0 when they had home court advantage. So it's the reverse of
To be
what
honest,
they did to
both
Boston.
series have surprised me to be 2-0. I mean, that started off 2-0. I know OKC had a home court. I get that, but still, I didn't expect either one of these series to start 0-2. If I'm being honest with you, the Knicks, with them being like the highest premier team left, it's interesting to watch the Knicks fans. You know, from winning the last round to looking like they were having a parade
They were.
before this, and to know how down bad they were after that second game. I don't know. I'm glad I'm not up there because you have to feel like you're dead in this series. Like, I know you can make it competitive. I know you can win a couple games still, but to feel that in New York, in MSG, with this guy holding the choking sign, and then to come out in game 2 and to let Pascal Siakam just do that to you, it's I don't know. The Knicks fandom roller coaster has to be literally insane to be on. I'm glad I'm not a Knicks fan because that seems rough, but I don't know. I mean, I think the Knicks are done. I don't know. I don't know if they even get 2 games. To be honest, with the way these other 2 have went, so I'm not looking forward to seeing the riots in New York. But to be honest, yeah, kudos to Tyrese for handling the criticism and to go up in the MSG with all that criticism leading up to this series and to perform the way he has and to lead his team.
Yes.
That's the other thing. I was like, Tyrese hit an amazing shot. Naismith hit those shots leading up to it. Pascal had a great game too. But Tyrese is the leader of that team. And so people can say what they want to about him. I've been critical of him. I've thought he's corny. You can't take anything away. You can't take anything away from him or the Pacers in this series. And with the momentum they have, I wouldn't go, depending on how the series ends, I wouldn't pick against them, like, for sure, depending on how their momentum carries over to the finals, if they finish off the Knicks in commanding fashion like they have game 1 and 2. So we'll see. But
you've been his arch nemesis for at least 2 years, so I appreciate
it. Well, he talks shit about the Magic, so yeah, of course.
Oh, go ahead, Mike.
I think that the Knicks right now, to quote Dennis Green, the famous Dennis Green, what was it, 2007, 2006? The Bears are who they thought they are who we thought they were. The Knicks are who I thought they were. Let's be honest. They should have lost to the Pistons in round 1. They should have lost. The Pistons beat themselves. You throw defense, a good defensive scheme against the Knicks, they can be beaten. And that's what Indiana's showing right now. You know, to me, the Knicks would
have the depth or the energy to finish off a good team.
And Tibbs isn't a great X&O coach either. He's never been. Okay. I do want to say this though. I just go back to karma. You know me, I believe in the basketball gods. That celebration the Knicks did after they beat Boston, man, I knew they were going to get their asses whooped by Indiana because it was just so over the top. It was too much. The fans acted like they had won the goddamn NBA championship.
Mm-hmm.
Y'all just got to the goddamn conference finals. Yeah, it had been the first time in 25 years, but that celebration was overkill. And I was like, good God, if they lose this next series, it is a wrap.
Well, it's like people like to make fun of poverty franchises, but what excuses do you have when you're one of the most elite franchises, one of the most popular, with some of the most. Well, I don't know about the money situation. You would assume they have some of the most money behind them as well. And to not have the success of like a Boston or LA, I'm sure that's rough. More rough than being like an Orlando or OKC fan and not having the success. So yeah, I mean, I hope the best for the Knicks fans, but it looks like they're going home early, and they'll have to enjoy this playoff series for what, another 20 years before they make it back or something.
I'm not gonna go that far, but this is what I'll say because I have a heart. I love Nick and Kenny like they're my sons. They've been with me with this whole journey with Hardwood, and I haven't texted them all week because I don't know what to say to them right now. I don't even know what to say to them. I don't know. Like, I need to text them.
Eating and living. Just make sure.
I need to text them to see if they're okay. So I have to text them today. I believe the game is today. Chanel, remember? Let's see.
Yeah.
Yes, it's today. I have to text them before this game because God forbid if the Knicks go up to Indiana and lose that game, the entire city of New York is going to go black. It's just going to happen. I don't even know what to say. I don't. Oh man, I love you, Tyrese. All right, but no, he's showing great leadership. He's always been that. He's always been a great leader. He just started off in Sacramento, didn't nobody give a shit. When he came to Indiana, he instantly took that franchise to the next step. So we definitely have to give him some love. Yeah, he's corny. Yeah, he loves his milk. We know that, but he's a good kid. He's a good kid. You know what I'm saying? He's a really good kid.
Are you gonna lecture him like Ryan Clark did RG3?
I mean, okay, so since you threw me that, I will say this: he gets a pass. And here's why he gets a pass. And I don't care who I offend. I don't give a fuck. Okay, I'm an equal opportunity offender. Men generally go after women that reminds them of their mother. Okay, Tyrese is mixed. His dad is black. His mother is white. He gets a pass. RG3, on the other hand, is a miserable piece of shit. Okay? I had him on my team for a few years back in the day. He's a miserable piece of shit. So, with that said, we're going to move on to our final topic. Our too early NBA Finals matchup prediction. Mike, who you got?
OKC and Indiana. Although, to elaborate on that, I think it's going to be interesting. I don't think it's going to necessarily, from a team perspective, it's not going to be that hype of a final series. Because, I mean, if you ask me, right out of the gate, it's going to be OKC as the favorite. And they're probably going to be OKC as the favorite with a sweep. In all honesty, they should, Vegas may give Indiana one game. I don't know. But it's going to be interesting. I think what's going to make it interesting is the momentum that Indiana is going to have coming out of this series, especially if it's going to be even more momentum if they sweep, right?
Which they could.
But right, they could be on that high, right? Yeah. But then I feel like we come out because this series with OKC and Minnesota, like I said, I call it 5. It could go 6, right? If it goes 6, and if it goes 7, then you're sitting in a situation where, just like this first game, Minnesota had 8 days off, right? And OKC came out and smoked them game 1. So I don't know. I look at some of these things and see, okay, well, where's really going to be the challenge? Indiana's going to have to play a high level of defense to match OKC's defensive intensity, because OKC is a defensive team, right? So you got defense against defense, which is going to be good, but then you've got the X factors in the scoring portion where SGA is just going to, I think he's going to abuse Indiana. I have a feeling he's going to abuse it. And either that or Chet Holmgren is going to start showing. Or we might see a dark horse in Lou Dort, right? We might see Jalen Williams, right? Anybody can step up for that team. If Halliburton doesn't keep this consistency, they're going to lose easily. So I think that it's going to be more of a challenge for Indiana than it's going to be for OKC, but I see those two going to the finals either way.
Bryce, what do you got?
Yeah, OKC, Indiana, with OKC winning in like 6 or 7 games, I guess. It's probably what I'm going towards. I wouldn't be surprised if Tyrese and Indiana pull off an upset, though, because both of these teams have kind of been. Take that off the fucking screen. Take that off this fucking screen. It's way too early. We're talking about finals predictions, and you want to put this disgusting image on my screen.
I agree.
Okay, OKC in 6 or 7. That's my prediction over Indiana.
So I like that prediction because I know the world doesn't want to have OKC and Indiana in the finals, so it wouldn't benefit the NBA. Well, I'm sorry, what's that?
I said, yeah, the NBA is going to freak out.
Right, so it wouldn't benefit the NBA to have a short series. Okay, so we haven't seen a lot of shenanigans this playoff run. We just haven't seen it. I believe if OKC and Indiana comes to the finals, they're going to stretch that series out. It will be 6 or 7 games. I'm actually going to go with Indiana. Okay, from a storyline standpoint, OKC are going to be good guys. Indiana's going to be the bad guys. You're going to see John Halliburton inserted back into the picture. I'm telling you, like the storyline's already there. It's already there.
They'll bring him back.
No, they're going to let him come back to the finals. It's already there. I have Indiana over OKC. Mike, who would you go with?
OKC.
And Bryce, you said OKC, right?
Yeah, that's my first gut reaction. It won't surprise me if Indiana pulls it off, though, with how good they've been playing.
Got it. And just to address you, Bryce, because I love you and you're my brother. The only reason I put this picture up is because I think Giannis said one of his favorite cities is in Florida. So we know he's not talking about the Orlando Magic. So that's why
he's documented as being smiling at Disney multiple times. So
that's why
you can take that out. You can take that out. He's just as more likely to go to Brooklyn as he is Miami.
That's why I put that picture up, because he's sending us little sweet kisses and shit. So that's why I put that picture up.
I know when they heat down bad, you guys have to be extremely hopeful nowadays. So I don't blame you.
I love it when you get amped up. It's fine. Apollo for me. It's great. So
can I ask a question real quick?
Another dark horse on date.
What's up, Mike?
Can I ask a question just from an opinion? Just throwing it
absolutely,
guys. Do you guys feel that now, at this point in the NBA, they're done with the setups of like a Golden State Cleveland run 4 years in a row, like where it's 3 matches?
Yeah. I don't even know if we'll ever see a three-peat again. I think a repeat's going to be the best these teams can pull off with the new CBA. I don't think you're going to be able to keep a really good, solid championship team together for 3-4 years. I don't think it's possible.
I say no, and here's why. I can't remember the number right now, but I think it's 13. Only 13 franchises have ever won an NBA championship. So right now, with the final 4 teams that we have, despite the fact that OKC still has Seattle's lineage and Seattle won the championship in 1979, let's not overlook that. Basically, 3 of these 4 teams have never won a championship. And the Knicks won their last one in 1972, so no one gives a fuck about that because we wasn't alive then, right? So we're probably going to have a new franchise representing the NBA champion for the next year. But I do believe once they figure out who the guy is, I'm never going to say there's not going to be a repeat or there's not going to be a dynasty again. I don't think it's always been that way. So I don't think that's changing. They just have to identify who the guy is. And Mike, I'm sorry, I know you wasn't on last week, but me and Bryce talked about this. That's why the injury to Jason Tatum was so devastating, because it's going to change the outlook of the league at least 5 to 10 years, because Boston was supposed to be that team.
Right.
But look what Boston had to pay and do to win 1 championship and then get knocked out in the second round.
Which is why they're breaking up this offseason.
That's what I'm saying. So you expect a team to build a dynasty over 3-4 seasons when I don't think it's possible to even keep a really good, strong team together. Like, not that you can't have a good team. OKC's doing it right, but they're doing it with the young guys. That's not as common as what Boston did. I don't think
That's how
that
it used to be.
going to be able to duplicate what Boston's doing for multiple seasons because we're seeing Boston can't do it. The
We
tax
had
is so high now, and your
right.
trades and your moves are so limited now. I don't think we'll ever see quite the same extent that we used to. Maybe once in a while, but I think it's going to be incredibly more rare now to see these long living dynasties. At least winning championships. You can be a dynasty and be good and be constantly in the conference finals and this and that and
That's not a
retooling.
dynasty.
I know, but that's what I'm saying. I don't think we're going to get any. A repeat might be it, a repeat, but I don't think we're going to see 3-4 year runs like we used to anymore.
It's
So,
gonna force. Oh, go ahead, Michael. Sorry.
so then, CL, let me ask you, what would you consider then a dynasty? Like, does it have to be 2, 3, 4 in a row?
Three.
Does it have, or can you win 3 in like a 6-7 year span?
It has to be 3 in the 4 or 5 year span. And let me say this: as far we know the cap situation, we know they're making it harder for teams to sign free agents, keep their mega stars, things of that nature. We know that. So 2 things have to happen. Oh goodness, 2 things. Can you guys hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, 2 things have to happen. One, just because you get offered a contract doesn't mean you have to take it. So someone's going to have to take a pay cut. If you're really serious about winning, someone's going to have to take a pay cut.
Brunson
Secondly, huh?
Brunson did.
Yeah.
Keep all
Second,
the guys in New York.
it's going to force. Sorry, it's going to force teams to go back to building their teams the hard way via the draft, which is kind of what OKC did outside of the acquisition of Shea. Now, use my team as an example. We usually take the easy way out, right? We spend a lot of money, have a 2-year, 3-year run, then we break it up, right? But I think it's going to force teams to draft better, which I don't have a problem with. So to use Bryce's team as an example, Bryce's team has drafted great the last 3 to 4 years. They have. And they're knocking on that door. Your Pistons might have drafted a great team the last 3 to 4 years. So that's what we're going to see going forward into the future, I think, where these teams are forced to draft better. But I don't think the notion of a dynasty is going to be over with, no. I don't believe in that yet. I have to see it to believe it. Like the UFO ship and the aliens would have to land right in front of me, as Bryce likes to say, for me to believe it, because the NBA's been.
I believe, but I want to see the bodies.
So pivoting into that portion, then when we're sitting here talking about the face of the league, and if the face of the league has to be a part of these things, do we really see Ant winning 3-4 chips with Minnesota?
He has to get the first one.
Right. Well, exactly. Even if he gets the first one, do you see Minnesota winning 3 of the next 5 years? Because we're in 2025 already, so we only got 5 years before the next decade anyway.
Well,
so
the Magic are supposed to win one by 2030. That's what their CEO said.
We'll see. Anyway,
that's a joke.
Sorry, Bryce, but at some point you're gonna have to get through my Pistons. I think that's gonna be a great matchup. By the way,
it will be a great matchup. Yeah,
if the Pistons and the Magic play,
if the Magic are healthy, they could go to the conference finals next year if they're healthy.
So can the Pistons, though.
So can the Pistons.
Yeah. Great.
Absolutely.
I love Cade Cunningham.
Well, their team is very deep, and if they add, like, they don't even really necessarily need it. That's the one thing I love about.
They had the right mix of vets too. I thought that came.
They've never had to actually have a major superstar in there to be successful, right? Isaiah Thomas was made. Chauncey Billups almost had a failing career until until 2004, right? So, and Ben Wallace was a nobody. Rasheed Wallace was going from team to team, right? Rip Hamilton in 2003, 2004 had a turn. Let it be the power of the mask. I don't know. Call it whatever it is. But that man had a 180 where he became Rip Hamilton, right? He was good in college. He was good at Washington, but that team just gelled very well together. So we don't necessarily need a major name, although I'm curious if we're even going to fight for one. Like I said, I want Devin Booker there. I would love Devin Booker there. But there's a couple other names. I would love to have Naz Reid there. If we're not going to worry about scoring, let's go get Naz Reid and let's add some height and some depth as far as
Lots of teams would love Nas Reed. I would love Nas Reed. Let's be real.
So that's what I'm saying is I don't necessarily think like I'm kind of going towards your route, Bryce, where I don't necessarily see we're gonna have any forms of dynasty, maybe at least through the 2020s until we see that team built into the 2030s maybe, because I mean it's gonna have to happen now. Although I think this will be the only decade that we didn't have a repeat champion ever since I've been alive. I mean the 80s we had the Lakers. We had the Pistons, and there were Celtics that were winning, right? Lakers and Pistons mainly throughout that decade. The Bulls won multiple in the 90s. Lakers in the 2000s, 2010s.
Houston.
Yeah. Houston. Okay.
Yep. We give Dream love. We give Dream love.
I'll give Houston the 2. Yes, I'll give Houston the 2.
Don't do that.
Right. I'll give Houston the 2. But then we transitioned to the Lakers in the late 90s, early 2000s. Spurs, right? We've had these repeat and we've had these dynasties being created in each decade, but we don't have one in the 2020s yet. So that would have to happen in the next 5 years.
We don't have a guy. Like I said, it's supposed to be Boston.
I thought Denver was
Denver. Denver should have been, yes.
Yeah, it should have been Denver. Yeah. So this is This is a great podcast, fellas. I definitely appreciate that. Yeah. So with that being said, I do like I like Booker to Detroit. I really do like that.
Is it growing on you?
I like Booker to Orlando a lot better.
Look, I've been reading Kevin Durant to OKC, Kevin Durant to Golden State. One of those two teams. He's gonna be gone no matter what.
It won't surprise me where Kevin Durant or Giannis goes, because there's like 100,000 rumors around them every day for wherever they could go. It's so crazy.
I pray for them that he does not go to OKC though.
Who, Giannis?
No, Kevin Durant.
Oh God, no, he doesn't. Yeah, no, he.
I was reading a possible trade that sends Kevin Durant to OKC. It sends 2 number 1s and who were the 2 players? Jalen Williams and somebody else. I forgot who it was that was listed there. But it's an overall 4-player deal, and then there's somebody else that's involved as well. And I'm like, look, if he goes there, I think that hurts his legacy. Right? I think that hurts Kevin Durant's legacy if he goes back to OKC, regardless. And I think it messes up their mojo. I definitely do.
Yeah, you don't break up that team to add OKC, to add him to OKC.
I agree.
Thing I say before we sign off is I got $65 million of expiring contracts and 3 first-round draft picks. So someone pick up the phone and call me, please. So
someone take Tyler Hero, please.
Please, yes, please, God, take Tyler Hero. Yes, the Magic can take him.
Yeah.
With that said, please like, subscribe, and share our content. Drop comments below. We always respond when we get one. It's been a little while. Everyone stay safe, and we are out.